Hey there, this is the Hypothesizzle podcast. My name is Jensen, and my co-host for today will be Bjorn. And we're
Hi
gonna be,
Dan.
whoa,
Oh,
hold your horses. Okay, why don't you introduce the topic today? It's gonna be about esports and working adult. Bjorn, why don't you take it away?
yeah, sure. So today we'll be talking about esports as it is been a decade since the first appearance. Like the GSL days, T1, Season of League of Legends, things like that. So first, the first segment we'll be talking about pretty much on the consumers, which is going to be focusing on the working adults. So we'll be covering on like the attitudes on working adults, and we'll be going through several profiles.
No,
So perhaps
let's just keep it a little bit more engaging over there. And here's the
okay.
thing, okay, the working adult
Uh-huh.
is a group of people that nobody talks about. Everyone is talking about, oh, how can we get the 15, 16-year olds to spend their money, to spend their parents' money on esports and stuff like that. But here's the thing is that, as Bjorn did mention, esports has been around for some time already. And we're going to see this increasing amount of working adults who find a way to be involved in esports itself. And I do know that there have been some efforts involved in terms of how do we engage adults as a whole. So
Yep.
today we're going to be exploring what is it like to be a working adult in the world of esports and how can we engage this group of people better.
Okay.
So that's going to be the first question. So who is the working adult? And I mean, to some extent, you could say that we are both technically working adults in the esports field. I myself, I'm 26 years old, and Bjorn, you want to share with the world how old you are?
Oh gosh. All right. So I'm in my thirties, or rather, I just hit the thirties, so pretty old in a way, I guess. Or
So,
rather, old enough to kind of live through the whole time span on like during the rise of esports to where it is right now, pretty much.
I mean, I'm pretty sure there's going to be some 50-year-old people out there who's going to say, the rise of esports. Oh no, that started in the arcades all the way back. I'm not sure if we
Uh,
witnessed it, but I don't think we are experts on the matter, and the research that we've done so far doesn't give us too much on that. But let's get started as to answering. I mean, we'll do what we can to the best of
yep.
our ability. So let's get started on answering the question as to who is the working adult. And I like to start things off by defining the psychographic profiles as to what a working adult might possibly be like. And I think you have all seen those kind of like comparisons where in your youth you've got no money, but you've got lots of time, you've got lots of health. And when you're in an old person, you don't have health, but you've got lots of time and you've got lots of money. And the working adult is the third part of the trifecta where this person
Yeah.
has got lots of money, has got lots of health, but has got little time. And how does such a person fit into the world of esports where nowadays we look at a person and we celebrate the person who has played over 2000 games in a day and say, oh, this person tries so hard. And are we alienating this group of people? Or what are the motivations of these kind of people when they play? Now, let's
Right.
start things off by introducing you all to a good friend of mine. He's called Benny. He doesn't actually exist, but this is what I like to call a psychographic profile, where I give the name. I just like to give him a name. Okay, Benny. He's a 30. He's a 30, maybe 31, 31 this year. Let's just say he turns 31 this year, and he's a male person who. Huh, I didn't mention person. Okay, but he's a male who used to play Dota 15 years ago when he was in secondary school, and he played all the way back in the day when things like Ricky Maru was like super overpowered and stuff like that, and where the concept of video on demand and the concept of broadcasting esports was never really a popular thing. And his consumer behavior today in terms of esports, his relationship towards the game is that he's somebody who uh, on his off time when he's probably I would think that Benny is likely to be a civil servant, so he probably works in say um, for some government branch, maybe doing auditing, maybe he's a DXO in the army or whatsoever. And in his off time from work, he likes to go back and catch up on his favorite shows. And he doesn't really watch all too many things. He just watch just like very specific things. Maybe for him, he watches Arrow, so he'll watch that. And then when that's done, and he's got more time, he'll maybe watch a game of the EPL if there's the Manchester Derby happening. He watch highlights for that. And then the third on that list is probably watching Dota or the broadcasted latest major or whatsoever, or perhaps indulging in a stream that is going on nowadays because there's very easily and available content on Twitch. So now I myself, I'm not at really at that age group just yet, but I think Bjorn has got some things to share about people he knows that might fit that kind of description.
Yeah, I mean, even in my family, my brother probably fits under the same profile as Benny. So he is also like a civil servant worker in a way. Comes home every day. He has his dinner, watches TV, and the only like esports or rather gaming related stuff is that when he is at his computer, he'll just play a couple of games, and then when he's not really doing anything, the PC pretty much becomes a TV where he just plays streams and he just watches it. Sometimes he even just dozes off in bed without turning off his computer while he's watching the streams. So that's pretty much um the profile that is pretty similar. Like he was very competitive back in the days as well. Of course nowadays he doesn't really have much time to play. The only other game that I saw him being pretty try hard and competitive in was probably Pokemon Go. But usually he stops it once he completes his collection, and then he'll just wait for the next wave. No, in a way, yeah,
So when we look at the working adult or the psychographic of Benny, right, we're looking at the spectator. I mean, looking at the hobbyist, correct? Somebody who
correct.
has a certain attachment to its a specific game or branding. So in the case of, did he play Inquest or was Pokemon Go the only Niantic game he played?
Probably just Pokemon Go.
Just Pokemon Go, right? Because there was a seeded affective feeling towards Pokemon within that, and I'm pretty sure that you all probably play Pokemon some way somehow, be it the card game or be it the most likely the Game Boy games back in the day,
Yeah,
and that
correct.
probably led on to what's happening today as well. And it's actually very interesting as well when we talk about things like Pokemon Go, because when I look at the people who play Pokemon Go nowadays, there's actually a very good mix of working adults who do actually play that game because uh it has this very hobbyistic element to it. So it's not exactly the most competitive game when we talk about esports, but
Correct.
it has an appeal towards the working adult in terms of being able to pursue something at their own pace. And while the rigors of, say, playing a competitive game, which requires you to regularly upkeep with meta game, which requires you to regularly upkeep with your skill set as well. So if you're looking at StarCraft 2, it's something that if you don't practice for a while, your APM actually goes down and stuff like that. APM stands for actions for per minute for those that don't know. You actually tend to play slower, and so for me, I actually do know quite a few people who used to play StarCraft 2 back in the day, and then they now are they just watch the WCS and the GSLs and stuff like that. So the second psychographic profile we're looking at is going to be Joey. Joey is a female. She is a mother of two. She's currently I'll just say she's 30 as well, because I think I'm just gonna go with the number 30. She's
Okay.
she's 30 as well. She's got two children. One is 5 years old. One is 4 years old. She is managing a job on top of, because I mean, I'm just gonna go from a Singaporean context where you need two working parents to get by in the struggle that is Singaporean life nowadays. And she has to
Mhm.
juggle time at work, time with the children, and every Friday night she meets up with her friends, and or rather she uses gaming as a means of maintaining social connections with people. And I drew inspiration of coming up with this psychographic profile by reading the article that the best relationships that we have had in life, in terms of the best friends that we have made, are already over by the time that we're 21. And the article talks about the fact that we have these institutions of school, or in Singapore there's school and then there's army and then there's college, in which we interact with people where there is not a very clearly defined social hierarchy or social dynamic, and that creates the opportunity for us to make friends with from which we don't necessarily need to have a specific connection to. Whereas once we move past that, there's a specific role to play, there's a specific agenda, be it as a partner in a relationship, be it as a colleague in the workplace. So gaming, I have to say, is a substitute for that institution by coming in and then enabling these people to pursue things in such a manner and
Mm.
pursue social relationships and keep in contact with people, or in fact even make new friends. through this medium.
Yep.
And
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest example would be like MMORPG, right? Where the game is kind of like the institution. There's no hierarchy. Everyone start out the same. You can try hard. You can take it at your own pace. You're not really defined by who you really are, and you just like go out and make friends, socialize, and just do the things that you like to.
so, I mean, for me, League of Legends is a game that I always have running in my background because that's the means that I used to chat with other people. And I'm not sure how many people are similar to me, but to use gaming, or especially MMOs, like what you mentioned.
Mhm.
And when you combine that with the spectator experience, it actually provides a kind of an area for a shared experience for these people as well. And this is what the psychographic profile of this person is. And same thing, it is this lack of time that has created this scenario. And let's move on to the third psychographic profile. And oh, this is my favorite one. It's called Peter the Tryhard, right?
Yep. Yep.
Peter the Tryhard. This is a guy. Why I call him Peter? Because I don't mean to be demeaning here, but this can be said that to take it to an extreme, he's Peter Pan. He's somebody who never grew up. And the first person, so for Benny, it's about finding entertainment. And the second one for Joey is about finding socialization. And for Peter, it's about finding validation in competitive gaming or in esports. This is the guy who you see is a who you would see at like amateur chess tournaments at your community center, and he's down there like, "Ha! You touch that piece, you have to move that piece now." And he's the same guy who's gonna rule shock you and stuff like that when it comes to all these kind of offline kind of competitive events. And for online events, this is the guy who everybody says is acting like a 15-year-old. Is going around calling other people 15-year-olds because this is a guy who works in a very probably a very stressful job, right? Where he probably has to take the crap from people for throughout most of the working day, and then he comes back home and he plays whichever game he is. It is for 2 hours, and there's probably a sense of self ego there as well, where he believes that he's better than he actually is, or he does have a point to prove. Rather, I'll put it that way. He does
Mhm.
have a point to prove. He goes in there and he's got 2 hours to prove that, and you had the gall to die 3 times in the bot lane and then complain about him. And then, oh, you got him started. It's gonna go off on you. And this is Peter
Yeah.
the tryhard, right? This is the guy who's there at the end. Some people say that he never grew out of gaming, but we can actually say that this psychographic profile is somebody who uses gaming as a means of validation in their lives.
Yeah, I mean, not just gaming, like even in Magic the Gathering, we term these people spike, where they're just there to prove
Oh
something.
no, these aren't spikes, man. Spikes are the competitive-minded people. These are
Yeah,
people
yeah. I
who
mean, these
who
these are
are
like
about
these are like the bad rotten spikes rather.
I guess you have like okay so the Magic the Gathering term for spikes is that spikes are people who are in the game to win, right? So
Yeah,
these people they don't so much value winning, but they use winning as a mechanism of validation. So it's not just about winning to them, they have to be the carry, they cannot look bad. and
yeah.
and
They have,
these are
they have, they
other
have to
people
feel.
who have to feel good about themselves, and they use gaming as a means of achieving that. So the this is the three psychographics that we can define for the working adult, and we'll be back with part two, where we explore how did it get here.